New at 6, the former leader of the oldest African-American church in the South Bay is now facing federal fraud charges. KPIX 5's Devin Fehely says it's the congregation that may have to pay the price.
The former bishop who led this church in San Jose and several others across California is now facing federal criminal charges. And the churches and the congregations he left behind are in financial ruin, on the brink of bankruptcy. San Jose's first AME Zion Church is the South Bay's oldest African-American congregation. It is also perhaps its most imperiled.
It was a massive scheme to defraud the membership of that property.
The U.S. Attorney's Office indicted former Bishop Staccato Powell on fraud and conspiracy charges, alleging he illegally transferred ownership of churches in San Jose, Palo Alto, Oakland, and Los Angeles to himself, and then took out $14 million in loans against the properties.
Banks or the finance companies need to go after those people who received the funding and have the funding, and not after the church, not after this retired congregation of these good citizens in the city of San Jose.
Church leaders at First AME say they never knew about the loans until they received a delinquent letter from the bank informing them they were facing foreclosure and were hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
I'm heartbroken.
Michael Cheers has attended First AME since arriving in San Jose as a journalism professor over a decade ago. The church and several other congregations were forced into bankruptcy. Prosecutors allege that Powell used the money to buy property in North Carolina, pay off the mortgage on his personal home, and to make payouts to others involved in the conspiracy. Debt church leaders say they don't have a prayer of paying back.
This stuff has to be adjudicated. I get all of that. But it's a darn shame. It's just sad that these folks have to go through this.
I spoke to the new bishop this afternoon. He says the highest priority of the church at large is to make sure that these individual congregations remain intact. He says the outcome of the bankruptcy proceedings will largely determine their future. In San Jose, Devin Fehely, KPIX 5.